Hey everyone, it's Brendan Payne with Century 21 again, and today's topic revolves around the inspection process, or the two options that are available in our market for inspection. So if you're a seller, you're going to be getting contracts that typically has one of these clauses in it. And if you're a buyer, you're going to have to choose which one's right for you in order for you to do the things that you need to with the property to feel comfortable and that you are getting something that you actually want and doesn't have any major defects or issues with the property. So let's talk about the two different options. They are the home inspection clause, and the other one is called the due diligence clause. Now, essentially, they're both the same in that they give the buyer a period of time to go and do their inspections, their tests, get things reviewed, and decide on if the home meets all the standards based on what they saw, when they showed it or what their agents told them. So it gives them some time to dig in a little bit deeper. Now, that's about where the similarities end. Okay, so let's talk about the home inspection clause first. The home inspection clause covers 5 major areas of the home, and very important that this is in the contract. So the home inspection clause is spelled out, but I'm going to give you kind of a summary. The home inspection clause covers the major systems. So the roof being free of leaks, the electrical system being in operating order up to code, everything working, the plumbing system operating up to code, any appliances that are included with the sale, all operational. And the fifth one is your heating and air system being up to date and operating the correct way. Now, inside of all those different parts, there's a lot of room for subjectivity. There's a lot of room for interpretation, but those are the 5 main areas. Essentially what it means is within those 5 areas, if somebody comes in and says, you know what, we just got the inspection back and the inspector noted there was a few plants that were dead out front, that's not a contractual obligation of the seller to have the plants alive if it wasn't somewhere else in the contract. So what's that mean? It basically means that if it's not in that contractual area, then they can't just come and say, well, the plants were dead and we don't want the home anymore. It's meant to give some guidelines and some parameters for what the expectation is that the seller delivers the home in this type of condition. Okay, that's the home inspection clause. Due diligence, much more broad. Due diligence actually is a time period that the buyer is given, and they can do whatever inspections they want. They can do a home inspection, they could do a lead-based paint inspection, they can do whatever they wanted in a period of time that's stated in the due diligence addendum, and it gives them time to do whatever they want and get out of the contract for any reason within that time. Now, that from the seller side can be a little bit nerve-wracking. You're under contract for a week or so, and then you find out, they found something that they didn't like in there. So there is a part of that due diligence addendum where they can offer, for if they do decide to get out of the contract, offer a monetary number, so $100, $100,000, $50, whatever it is. If they do kill the deal, they can offer that to maybe incentivize the seller to consider that. Essentially, both of these options are there for the buyer. And in some cases, due diligence makes a lot of sense and is very, very reasonable. Consider someone that's buying a lot and they're ready to build, but they need to make sure that the home plans that they've fallen in love with are going to fit. Well, that's going to take some time. The builder's going to have to maybe look at the plans, look at the lot. They might have to go through some sort of architectural review board to make sure everything works. They might have to make sure that the land perks so they can put in septic if it's not outside with, in city and county limits. A lot of different things that can make a lot of sense for. On the flip side, if it's a 1-bedroom or an efficiency condo on the oceanfront where you can literally inspect the whole thing, probably under 10 or 15 minutes, the due diligence may add a little extra time and a lot of options for the buyer to just get out of the deal. So look at every contract, be clear on, if you're a buyer, not only what is fair to you, but also being fair to the seller is typically going to give you a seller that is also going to negotiate in earnest with you. So going out there with maybe not so great of an offer, you may get it together, but you might not have gotten the best deal you could because the terms were really limiting for the seller. So Look and see what makes the most sense for you as the buyer, and as a seller, understand what your obligations are with both of these.